Hey everyone, so I'm back from Des Moines, which means it's Tuesday and I had 3 movies to see today. Well, 2 for you, 3 for me.
Yeah.
I'm actually only in town for like 2 days and I gotta leave again because I'm doing Wizard World Columbus this weekend. So June 8th through the 10th, I'll be at Wizard World Columbus, so come see us out there. Earlier today, I saw Adrift, and we just got out of Action Point. So which one do you want to talk about first, I guess?
It's up to you.
I'll talk about Adrift first, since that was the first one I saw. I caught an afternoon screening earlier of the movie Adrift, which is with Shailene Woodley and Sam Claflin. I think that's how I might be pronouncing that wrong, but the dude from Me Before You. And if you've seen the trailer for this movie, they go out sailing from Tahiti, I think, to San Diego, and get caught up in this massive storm. They get hit by this giant fucking wave. It totally flips the boat over, and then they're basically surviving for about 41 days just adrift at sea. And the trailer certainly makes it look like, it's like this year's, this year's The Mountain Between Us. It's better than that. It's actually a lot better than that. When I got the trailer for this quite a few times, and not a lot was really selling me on it, because I've seen a lot of movies like this where they're hit by some kind of storm or something at sea, and then for the rest of the movie they're just kind of adrift and stranded. And a lot of times movies like that can kind of bore me, really.
It can be pretty predictable.
Oh boy. I'll get to that in a minute. But this movie, a movie like this hasn't been better than for me. It's never gotten better than Alfred Hitchcock's Lifeboat, which is a fucking masterpiece. But so one thing though that I was surprised about by this movie was how much, just how steamy it is. Ooh. The way that this movie is edited together and the way that it's presented isn't quite like you see in the trailer. When I got the trailer all those times, I honestly sat there like, okay, I kind of feel like I've seen the entire movie, but just in like 2.5 minutes. And boy, is that not really true, honestly, for better or worse. And I will get to that. But the movie takes place in 1983, and it's a true story. Like this actually.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if it was a true story.
It is. It's a true story, and it's about these 2 people who they meet and they fall in love. They have this romance, and they end up getting engaged, and then they sail across the world. And one of the things that does really thery this movie is the acting is really fucking good in it. Shailene Woodley is amazing in this film. Like, there's a lot of it where it's kind of a one woman show with her, and she easily carries it. Like, she is outstanding in this film, and it's a well-made movie too. There's a lot of long shots in it. There is beautiful scenery in it, and what I liked about it, like it started out in the opening scene, kind of doing something that I don't really like in movies, where the opening scene in the film is the boat's flipped over. She's struggling for survival. She gets on top of it. She's screaming, and it does the thing where it cuts and says like 5 months
earlier or something. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really like that all that much, but
it makes the movie feel longer because you're waiting for that to happen, I guess.
It works here because the movie is consistently structured like that. It's not a linear movie. It doesn't, like, aside from that opening scene, it doesn't like, okay, now it's the romance, now it's, they get hired to sail this boat for this older couple, storm happens, then they're adrift at sea. It doesn't do it linear like that. Throughout the whole movie, it's jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
Like, after the opening scene, it cuts to them meeting for the first time. It shows her getting to that country for the first time, and then it goes back to the events after the storm and him with a broken leg, broken ribs, and her having to basically kind of fix this boat as much as she possibly could. It does that throughout it, and the way that it's structured, where there's these kind of two stories going on, it does make the movie consistently pretty entertaining. Like, it doesn't lag when they're just like drifting, because then it'll cut to some stuff before. The thing with the storm is in like the last 20 minutes of this movie, if that, maybe the last 15 minutes of the movie. Like, it all kind of builds to this storm that caused all of this shit.
I just saw a bug fly.
Oh, well, yeah, there'll be some out here. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the way that it was structured like that. Because it kept it from being like, okay, it's just an hour of them floating at sea and I'm kind of bored and I hope they get rescued. Like, things did keep happening, and when it was flashing back and forth, it was good. The two actors do have really, really, really good chemistry with each other. Even with their dialogue being like kind of romance movie dialogue,
Yeah,
but
it looked like a generic romance movie
it's
from
not,
the trailer.
It's not that, because it's way more of a survival movie than it is that, because they're already an established couple. Like, they're engaged right before this storm hits, so it's not like something like The Mountain Between Us, where there's strangers, this happens, and then they bang. Like, I mean,
Right.
it doesn't do that, and it's significantly more well-made than just a kind of date movie, survival movie like this. It never well, it does a little bit, but for the most part, it doesn't go into like really cheesy levels of like a Nick Sparks movie. Like, it's consistently smarter than that to a point. But
The cover looks like a Nick.
the cover does. Like, it knows what
Two people almost kissing.
it knows what its audience is. There were these drunk old ladies sitting behind me during this, and I can only imagine it was because maybe Book Club was sold out again, or maybe they were still drunk after seeing Book Club and needed to go somewhere to sober up, so they went to go see this movie. We got the trailer for the Jennifer Garner action movie in front of this, and like, they were sitting there behind me going like, that looks sassy. Like, it sure does, ladies. Took the words right out of my mouth.
You should have turned around and said that.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Am I passing that back here? I'm just drinking water over here, like a schmuck.
And you saw this by yourself.
By myself, yeah. When it does do like really schmaltzy kind of dialogue, the movie kind of does play with it a little bit. Like, he says to her like a romance movie line, like I traveled all the way around the world to find somebody like you, and I'm not letting that go. And it cuts to her, and her reaction is just, ugh.
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, so it does kind of, they do have,
Me and you.
it's exactly like us. I traveled across town.
I'm the one that traveled to you.
You traveled much farther than me. I traveled from the airport.
I traveled great miles just to pick you up from the airport.
Why did you sail from Virginia to here? It doesn't even make sense.
Just
I
sail.
have even more questions that a hurricane managed to hit you.
I sailed here.
Hey, you know, if they can sail and Jason Takes Manhattan from there to New York, from Crystal Lake to New York City, why not? I guess anything's possible. But, so for a majority of this movie, I was sitting here like, this is an honest surprise. Like, I'm surprised about how much I'm enjoying this. Like, it is suspenseful. It is a well-made flick. The acting is top-notch in the film. And then, okay, there's no way to really talk about where someone will come down on this movie, to really talk about their feelings of it, without getting into spoiler territory. And so if you want to avoid spoilers on this movie, maybe stop watching it here. I did like this movie. I did. It was a surprise, and there was enough things about it that I was really enjoying it to where I would recommend it. Like maybe like a $5 matinee or something like that. Like it was better than I thought it was going to be. But
You're really like
so I could see the last couple scenes in this movie making or breaking this movie for somebody.
Okay, so what is it?
So, all right.
You're making me guess, like, all the
it's amazing. I don't know if you'll guess. I really don't. But so
What could it be?
all right.
Spit it out.
It kind of makes sense that the guy who's in this was also in Me Before You, because that's another movie that's impossible to review without getting into spoiler territory. Well, that movie didn't have like a twist. It's just that it's the one where he's in the wheelchair.
Right, okay.
So
I was trying
in
to think
this,
if it was that 9/11 one with Robert Pattinson.
no, remember me? Good comparison, honestly. Well, 9/11 doesn't happen in this, but like, but yeah, that's a movie that's kind of impossible to talk about without getting into spoilers.
Yeah.
And this movie has a twist at the end. And the twist is that the lights go out. Hang on. Sorry guys, there's a storm brewing. Sorry, I thought it would hold out. I guess not. Do you got your phone too?
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, we're going into.
It's kind of funny that you're like.
What is that? Is that a video playing on here? So, I didn't even know I had. Was that Spotify? I didn't even know I had that.
Do you need? Like,
no,
okay.
It's fine. So
they're really like kind of.
I'm really building up suspense.
Yeah.
I rigged it to where that would go off at just the right moment.
So this is the ending.
So okay, this movie has a twist at the end, and granted, sure, I didn't see it coming, because who the fuck expects a twist out of Adrift? If you were to guess, what would the twist in this movie be?
I mean, I saw the trailer like once, so.
Okay. You know how I told you how this movie's structured, really non-linear,
Yeah.
and that the storm that you see in the trailer happens at the end of the movie. There's actually a reason for this.
Okay.
Because, now you've seen the trailer where they're both on the boat, and she's taking care of him. He's got cracked ribs, he's got a broken leg, he's like immobile and everything, and she's like kind of the one who's in charge of everything. So when it shows the storm at the end, he dies during the storm. Like, he falls over and the sail like bops him in the head and kills him. He's just gone. He's dead.
Okay.
So it's got like a Fight Club twist at the end, or The Sixth Sense, where the entire time he was there on the boat, he's been dead this whole time. He's not there. She's like imagining it.
Whoa.
And then it does the Fight Club thing where it's flashing back to scenes you just saw, but it's her talking to herself.
It's her talking to herself, and she's just imagining that he is there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't like cut to him like at all, or is it?
What do you mean?
Like when you said it's like a one-woman show. Like it's just.
Well, I mean,
it won't like flash to him.
No. I mean, when I say that, I mean there's just maybe a one-woman show is kind of an exaggeration, but there's scenes in it where where it is just her on the boat. But this is way before that. This is like before she finds him on a lifeboat and she brings him in, and then they're on the boat. But then at the end, you find out she's been having hallucinations. So when she saw him on the lifeboat earlier, there was nothing there.
Oh, that's creepy.
So and. He says to her, like, the ghost him or whatever says to her, like, I've given you all the advice I can, you have to let me go now, or something like that. And then he like he doesn't disappear, but it pans back up and he's gone. So it's like they took that scene from Gravity where Clooney came back and ran with it to the point, because at least in Gravity, you know he's dead. You know that this is just, he's showing up to give this moral, or to give this, like, needed advice, or this confidence boost, or whatever. And this, though, no, you don't find out until the end of the movie. Like I said, it's a twist. It's like this Sixth Sense Fight Club-like twist at the end of the movie. And when it happened, bless you.
Thank you.
When it happened, I was wondering, because when it flashed back and he gets hit, bopped in the head and dies, and then he's laying there, I'm sitting there in the theater like, it's not. Is it really going to do this? Are we really doing this?
So did that make it or break it for you?
It gave me something to talk about, certainly. It didn't break it for me, but because it is a true story. Like,
so she does end up surviving.
No, she does.
Does
yeah.
she like write a book or something? And that's.
I don't know about
were
that.
They just being really
I don't.
creative with the.
Well, it showed it does another thing I don't like at the end, where it shows like the pictures of the real people at the end.
You don't like that?
Not really. It kind of takes me out of it, honestly. Like, I understand, I get it, I understand, but it takes me out of it, especially when it's one of those cases.
When they're like really ugly in real life.
Well, that wasn't the case here, but like that happens in movies where they're played by Mark Wahlberg, but then you see the picture at the end, it looks like Larry the Cable Guy. Like, like I see that. I see that a lot in movies.
Or like in reenactments of like like Unsolved Mysteries or something, and they're like.
That episode of Unsolved Mysteries I was in, the guy I was playing way more handsome.
Did you say it was just like a silhouette of you?
Like, yeah, you just have to trust me, it's me. No, so so I'm like, okay, it is, and when it flashed a newspaper at the end, it said like, the voice of her boyfriend was the one guiding her or something like that. So like, I mean, the movie takes that and just runs with it and just makes this twist at the end of the movie, and I can see that kind of breaking this movie for people. I can't. It didn't really me, but I was sitting there like, was this really like, I mean, like, who expects that kind of twist out of this freaking movie?
What did the drunk ladies do?
They were like, whoa.
Imagine going to this like super stoned.
Yeah, like, it was random that it has this at the end of the movie.
That sounds amazing. I want to see it now.
I mean, it was like, dude, what? So it maybe did kind of knock it down a notch a little bit for me, but again, it is a true story, so I mean, all right, but
sure,
but I did enjoy this movie. I did. There's enough good things about it. There's enough really good things about it that made me enjoy it. But when that was happening, I was like, holy shit! Like, is it real? Are we really doing this?
Someone going in, like, expecting like a Nicholas Sparks movie is gonna just.
I've seen it also in my head. I was thinking about times where I've seen this done way worse, like that Sea of Trees movie with Matthew McConaughey that honestly I thought started out really good, and the second it takes a hard right, it drove right the fuck off a cliff. This movie didn't do that. Like, it didn't crash and burn during this. It just caught a flat tire and we're fine. We made it to our destination at the end.
Well, you make me kind of want to see it.
It's good. Like, it's good. If you saw it, I mean, you already know the twist.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you saw it, you'd be like, okay, that was fine. Because, yeah, it's decent. It was a good movie. If you catch it for like $5 or something, I caught it for $5 here. Well, like, I mean, I used my movie pass, but if I didn't, I'd be paying $5 for it. So, yeah, it killed a couple hours. Like, it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Was it crowded?
I mean, there was the drunk ladies behind me. There was a few other people in there.
And then you just in the back.
No, I was sitting in the usual spot. But anyway, so we also went to go see Action Point, which doesn't have any kind of like big twist at the end of the movie.
That would be cool.
Yeah. This is a movie that I think, like, we're only a handful of people who went to go see this film.
Which I was excited to see this because
Me too.
I'm a Johnny Knoxville fan, and I'm also a Jackass fan.
Yeah. Same.
And when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, well, that's an interesting idea. That sounds funny. I like that kind of... The idea was really interesting.
Yeah, it's a movie that takes place in 1979. Johnny Knoxville runs a place, it's an amusement park called Action Point, which I'm told is based on a real place. And their gimmick here is that you can basically kind of do whatever you want there. You get injured, you drink, and you just party at this amusement park. And
like,
so
there's no
that
breaks or any safety regulations.
yeah, and that sets it up for like all the like jackass kind of stunts that you see throughout the movie. And I guess this movie wasn't advertised very well because a lot of people that I talked to didn't even really know this movie came out, let alone saw any trailer for it. I mean, we got a trailer a few times because we're at every fucking movie that comes out, but yeah, I was listening to a show earlier where they were talking about yeah, I didn't realize this came out till I saw the box office. The guys on Double Toasted said that. And no, I mean, we knew it was coming out, but again, we get 5 fucking trailers in front of every fucking movie we go see.
We were talking about this earlier. I said I thought it was kind of weird that, you know, not a lot of people saw it because Jackass has such a huge fan base. And then you told me, like, you know, it doesn't say Jackass Presents. Like, it's just kind of like, it just says Action Point.
You mean Dirty Grandpa came out Bad Grandpa came out a few years ago, and that did
Didn't
well.
Didn't that say
like,
Jackass Presents?
It was Jackass Presents Bad Grandpa, but I think that was a better advertised movie than this.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's got Chris Pontius in it and Johnny Knoxville, so it's got a couple of them in there. But yeah, it didn't have like the Jackass logo on it or anything.
Did Johnny Knoxville direct it?
No, he didn't, but he helped come up with the story for it, and so did Mike Judge. I saw Mike Judge's name on there as well.
Cool.
So you kind of know what you're gonna get when you go see this movie. You probably know whether or not you're gonna like it too, going into the film. And I realized, like, all right, well, this movie's gonna come and go. It might not even be here next week. Really, it debuted at number 9 with only like $2 million or something like that. Yeah. But I don't know, like,
you said,
look,
oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I had a good time at the movie.
Yeah, if you like Johnny Knoxville, you're gonna have a good time. It's not his best movie out of the ones he's done, but it was entertaining. Like, I still the bear and stuff.
Oh yeah. So the movie it very much is like it is an homage and kind of a love letter to like that late 70s, early 80s era of like shenanigans movies, like between
even the cover of the
movie. Yeah, like, I mean, if you grew up, like, I did enjoy this as a good throwback movie. This is the kind of thing that me and my friends would sit around and watch. It's the kind of thing we'd watch like when we were in like junior high or high school. Like, it's a kind of comedy that I grew up on, really. Like, there's traces of like Meatballs in there and the Hollywood Nights, even things like Slapshot or like Bad News Bears and things like that. Not saying it's as good as those necessarily, but yeah, I could easily see like me, Dave, Buford, all of us sitting around watching this and having a good time watching it. And I think that's the point of the movie. The point of the, like, it knows what its audience is, in that if you grew up watching that kind of movie and you think back fondly on that kind of film, then, you know, this is a movie made for you. You can get some nostalgia out of it, or you can go back to like, hey, you know, this has taken me back to me and my friends sitting around when we were teenagers watching this. And also, you know, it's a good throwback to like the Jackass style stunts and all that, because all of those are in here as well. And like Jackass and like, you know, Johnny Knoxville movies, the movie also does have heart to it. It
does, because he has a thing with his daughter, and, you know, she's growing up, and so he's kind of, you know, and she lives in New York, he lives somewhere else.
I forget where this is taking place.
Yeah, but, you know, she lives with her mom, and she only visits, I think, like in the summer, and, you know, he sees that she's growing up, and it kind of is hard for him to see that. And
they have a really dramatic scene like in this.
When they sit down, and and she's like, "Why are you so obsessed with the park?" And he's just like, "Well, I guess when, you know, your mom left, and she had a good reason, and you left. The park was all I had. And he starts kind of tearing up a little bit, and I'm like, oh, Johnny Knoxville.
He's a good actor. That's why it's really instrumental to have a Johnny Knoxville in a movie like this. Mm-hmm. And I feel that way about a lot of his movies too, is that, yeah, you're going to it because, like, yeah, it's a sophomore juvenile comedy. There's shenanigans in there. There's a lot of drinking. There's drugs. There's all of that. There's plenty of slapstick. But he is a good actor. He is charismatic. He does have screen presence, and he's a good enough actor and a good enough talent that his movies, not even just this one, but his movies, they do allow for a moment like that to actually get even Bad Grandpa.
Did it? Because it's been a while since I've seen that. Even
that will like allow for like some heart to happen in it every now and then, because Johnny Knoxville can really carry scenes like that, and so did that girl.
That girl was good in it. I don't know what she's been in, but she was really good. I like Johnny Knoxville a lot.
Right. Speaking of Stevie.
Yeah, no, he's pretty attractive.
So many people are like, now this makes sense.
What?
The people in the comments
Why?
are like, you haven't seen those comments? Like, well, Brad's punching above his weight, isn't he?
Johnny Knoxville's pretty, I think he's traditionally attractive.
No, Johnny Knoxville's a good-looking guy, yeah.
I guess I just don't understand what you're saying then.
You haven't seen those comments that are
well, you told me.
Oh, so you know what I mean, yeah. But like...
Aw.
I know.
Anyways.
I'm your Johnny Knoxville. I'm constantly hitting myself in the nuts.
Constantly fucking with me and pranking me.
Constantly hitting you with a fire hose.
He also has a Wawa tattoo, which is a plus. I don't know if anyone who lives on the East Coast, they'll probably know what Wawa is, and it's like the best convenience store ever. But anyways.
Yeah. We got a poster of Johnny Knoxville above our bed and the heart over it.
Put this over your head.
Put this over your head. I'm gonna hit you in the balls with a croquet mallet. Oh, please, I insist. Anyways.
But yeah, like Johnny Knoxville's really good in it. There's jokes I did genuinely laugh at.
Yeah, same.
Some of them didn't land, but I wasn't like upset or they weren't like really bad jokes. They just didn't land. But the ones that did, like the one with the bear, like one of the opening scenes. He is telling his granddaughter about his part, because he's playing Bad Grandpa. And then he says, well, I used to grow up in this place, back in the 80s, and it was a nice place, but I had a pretty bad neighbor. It was an alcoholic bear who was always trying to steal my beer.
It was this alcoholic bear was my neighbor. He kept breaking in, trying to kill me so he could steal my beer.
And that was so funny. I was like, oh, that was really funny.
Yeah, that's early on in the movie. That was a big laugh. And that bear is one of the best characters in this film.
He's passed out with sunglasses and,
Yeah. The bear is just passed out. The bear is straight up a supporting character in this film. This alcoholic bear that shows up every now and then to take their beer and to try to kill them. And yeah, one part it's a group shot and the bear is just, they're all watching TV and the bear is just sitting there in the shot.
Like hungover.
Yeah, hungover. Like, this bear was killing me like every single time.
Yeah.
You're right, there's jokes that don't land. But
it wasn't cringy though. It's just jokes that didn't land.
No, I mean, yeah, there's typical like kind of gross out jackass moments in the movie, and I love Jackass too. But like sometimes the movie would kind of stop for a moment like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it would really catch me off guard. Things would happen for no reason, and it would still catch me off guard and laugh. Like Johnny Knoxville giving a speech, so he stands up on a picnic table, and for no reason, the board flies up and hits him in the crotch.
What I like about it is like, he, like in Bad Grandpa, he is just clumsy, and things will just kind of hit him, or he will just, it's not like he's doing a stunt necessarily the whole time. Like, he'll just get up, he's like, okay, guys, I gotta tell you, let's do, like, a group meeting, and he stands up on this table, and then this board hits him in the face.
Yeah.
And he's like, and they all start laughing at him, and he's like, okay, guys, you didn't see that, or something. And
Yeah.
he's also just, you know, anytime he would do something and he would get hit, it was hilarious. And, you know, I don't know why, but it just is.
Yeah, because
it's
it's
Johnny
so
Knoxville.
earnest and genuine.
Because
Like,
he loves doing it. He's like, what, you said 48?
He's 47 or 48 or something like that, and it just has heart. Like, it's like the show. I mean, it's likable. It is a genuinely likable, in this movie, a genuinely likable person is the lead, and, you know, they're taking all this shit like a champ. Honestly, I mean, this movie works largely because he is older. Like, yeah, Johnny Knoxville's, he's a lot older than he was on Jackass. He's, 47, 48 years old, and I've seen a couple of reviews that kind of point that out as like a knock against the movie, but honestly, one, he's still having a good time doing it. Like, so, I mean, he's having fun.
Just laughing maniacally.
Yeah.
Like, anytime someone got hurt.
But also, like, if this is, like, a swan song for this kind of Johnny Knoxville movie, it kind of does work as that, because it is a movie about a guy who is older and is kind of realizing he's older, and then by the end of it, sort of realizes that he's kind of past this point in his life. That's kind of a message of the movie, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's a movie that it's dependent on the fact that Johnny Knoxville is older and at this stage in his career.
Yeah, and Dave, when he saw the trailer for it, he was like, wow, Johnny Knoxville's not looking good. Age isn't tuned.
I think he looks fine.
I was like, he looks good to me. Obviously, I think that. And he's still, like, in shape, like, you know.
Right, yeah. Like, he still takes those stunts like a champ, man.
The stunts probably weren't as intense as the other ones.
No,
like,
I mean,
the most intense one is, like, when they have a big fire hose and they spray him and he, like, falls down the slide. That looked painful. And another one was
that catapult that flew him into a barn.
Those were probably the most intense ones. And I guess the animal one, because he has to pick up a porcupine.
Oh, yeah.
And that was funny when he's in the... one of the guys is in like a thing of leaves because they're trying to make a petting zoo. And he's like, do you think the peanut butter will work? And his arm's just sticking out of the thing of leaves.
Yeah.
That was a funny scene.
No, yeah. I had a good... Look, the movie's like 85 minutes. Those parts where he was older and talking to the grandkid, I could have done without.
I actually kind of liked it. There were some parts that didn't work, but whenever he got hurt as the grandpa, it was funny. Like, he was trying to light up a gas stove, and then this flame just comes and hits him in the face.
I mean, there's all that stuff going on, but it was unnecessary. It was like, couldn't this have just been a movie that's in 1979 without... For one, it almost felt tacked on.
Probably was.
Like, it really felt tacked on, because, I mean, without it, the movie's like 75 minutes long. But it was even kind of shot differently. Like, it just looked different than everything. I realized, there's a big time gap between these scenes, but it felt like something that was shot in a day to, like, attach it to this movie. And
they needed the character Bad Grandpa to kind of sell the movie a little bit more.
Yeah, but is that even the same character? I don't think that's...
I thought it was.
I mean, yeah, he's an old man, but he's acting way differently than...
It's been a while since I've seen Bad Grandpa.
I don't... Yeah.
I thought it was, but...
I mean, it's the same makeup, but I mean, he wasn't acting the same as he was, and it's been a while since I've seen Bad Grandpa, but I realize that movie's not that old, but I've seen a lot of movies since then. But no, I had a decent enough time at this. Like, look, I mean, the movie's not great. There's things about it that don't work, but it got me every now and then, and Johnny Knoxville easily carries a movie like this. Like, it was a decent throwback to a lot of kind of comedies that I grew up watching and still enjoy to this day. And I think that's really the audience for this. You know, right away from the trailer, whether or not you're going to go see this film, and, well, not a lot of people really knew it was out. But
It's definitely
I enjoyed
a rental.
it. Yeah. This is something that, like, me and Dave and Buford would get together and watch, and maybe we'll watch Screwballs after or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, like, you don't have to see it in theaters. I think it's more of, like, you can kick back, laugh with your friends, you know, kind of thing, and rent it. Because there are parts in the movie that kind of drag on, that were kind of slow, that made it feel, I don't know, there's nothing was going on.
Yeah.
But then there would be the scenes where he gets hurt or does a stunt or there's a funny joke somewhere, and, you know, then it picks up again. But there's, like, maybe 5 minutes, like, or 15 minutes that kind of felt slow for me.
It felt like a quick 80 minutes for me. I mean, anytime it cut to, like, the present, it was kind of dragging for me because I kept thinking, like, this is unnecessary. Like, I wish this wasn't here. But other than that, yeah, like, you hang out with your friends and watch this. Maybe this movie will find... I could see this movie finding an audience on video. This is the kind of movie that needs, like, a VHS release, like a limited edition VHS release. But no, I had a good time at it. Like, this is... That's exactly what this movie is for. It's a shenanigans film. It's, if you laugh, great. If not, well...
Not hurting anybody.
Yeah. I had a way better time at this than I did at Super Troopers 2. A way better time at this movie. Holy fuck. But anyway, we got one more movie to go see.
And it's hot as hell.
It is, because you're thinking about Johnny Knoxville again. Me too.
Dreamy. I don't know if that's the right word to describe. Dreamy. Like, a dreamy is not probably the right word to describe.
Well, you have it written on his poster
Dreamy
in lipstick.
That's not true. I don't have a poster.
No, but it does say dreamy on our wall for no reason with lipstick. That part's true. See you guys.